So is I ride up while he's chilling on the weekend, creeping, seat back, iron low, like I'm anemic. I'm a wet when it's that time. When Drake's here in front of the battle, but you ain't gonna make none of his headlines.
Hospital, you know my habitat. I throw bullets, Hasselback, 40, Ja Rule. I put it on him and give him a little more after that. Try me.
When you think of Big T, what comes to mind? Is it a Midwest legend, a Chicago trailblazer, one of the most unorthodox battlers that ever performed on the URL platform? Or do you think of an older battler who is over the hill and out of touch with the times of battle rap? I suppose it depends on the fan you're asking. As the culture evolves and we gain newer fans on a daily basis, I am cognizant of the idea that there are many fans that aren't privy to how Big T was in his heyday. In the battle rap culture, the focus is on the now, and not every fan has an interest in going back and looking at the history. In an art form that likes to acknowledge the recent transactions of the artist, we can often lose sight of the battler's career holistically, and this very thing can change the scope of which we view the battlers. Welcome to the Speaking Our Language show. In today's video, we will primarily focus on the apex of Big T's career. Here, we will examine the peak of his career that garnered praise and recognition from older fans and battlers alike. More specifically, the time period between 2009 and 2013. When you think of the battlers that set the foundation for Midwest advancement in battle rap, obvious names are Averb, Hitman, and Young Ill from St. Louis, Midwest Miles, X Factor, and Calico from the state of Michigan, but there is not enough recognition when it comes to Big T and the impact he had in representing Chicago. While Midwest Miles, X Factor, and Verb were already creating a buzz prior to URL's inception, Big T would make a huge name for himself in a resounding fashion on October 31st of 2009, the first ever URL card. Big T not only had performance of the night versus Deacon Frost, but he will also deliver one of the most infamous haymakers in URL's infancy.
It's a crib shot up and a slain mother. Don't let me hear you cremating her. I go to the crib and LeBron James the remains of it.
In a time where New York outsiders had to go the extra mile to prove their talents, Big T put URL and the culture on notice and displayed a style that was never quite seen before. Most rappers followed a particular template, but Big T was very distinct, and the demand for more performances from Big T didn't take long to spark. Soon after the first card, he would appear and once again put his talents and charisma on notice. Later that year, Big T would feature on the Midwest Massacre card where he would battle a young and hungry Hitman Hollow. Hitman's aggression, delivery, and performance alongside Big T's flow, unconventional setups, and tremendous wordplay would make for a great style clash. Both of these guys would trade haymakers in a back and forth battle, Hitman delivering his ridiculous violin bar, showcasing his performance, while Big T would debut his patented Shalak Abu along with a myriad of gun sounds.
I'll let two hit me, then another two hit me, then a falafel boo hit me. I think fuck am I fighting for? I got that Chalaka boo with me. Boo boo with me. Boo 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 with me.
Big T gained a lot of traction and a lot of buzz within his first two battles on the URL platform. After a couple of callouts, he was able to lock in a battle with Hollow the Don on Hollow's URL debut. This was also Big T's first main event battle. In URL's second NYC event, there were a lot of notable things that transpired. For one, Calico and Newborn took place, Soul Khan made his URL debut against Deacon Frost, DNA made his URL debut against Un-P, and Sue Surf made his URL debut against Young Ill. It was a very monumental night for the URL movement and battle rap as a whole. And while Big T had a really solid performance, it was slightly overpowered by Hollow's rebuttals, aggression, delivery, and his uncanny ability to snatch momentum from his opponent. But if I'm being quite honest, I never bought into the notion that Hollow killed Big T. And I'm not saying that to rewrite history. I understand there's a lot of people that feel like Hollow dominated Big T in this battle, but in my opinion, I feel like Big T's performance against Hollow is extremely underrated when you look back at his material. Everyone should keep in mind that this was in New York and Hollow was making his URL debut. This would have been a tall task for anyone, especially Big T, who was an out-of-towner. Hollow was just a better man on a historic night, and that's nothing to sneeze at. But soon after this general consensus loss, Big T would go on and deliver a remarkable run that was rarely talked about in great detail. Off the heels of the Hollow battle, Big T would go on to face DNA on URL's 7th major card as the main event once again. He would have a sensational performance showcasing his lyrical prowess, stage presence, and also a little bit of angling and jokes to disarm and neutralize the vast majority of DNA's material. Big T had a plethora of quotables in this battle, highlighting that he can attack from a lyrical and comical front.
Go! When you was in the Sue Surf battle, you threw up on Smack some type of black sauce, and the other time you battled On P, you let a nigga smack your head off? Damn. Nigga, how you ugly and soft?
Get this nigga, T. Let's go.
Big T had many highlights that night, including a Buster Douglas bar pertaining to DNA dropping the mic in Detroit, the Kenny from South Park line, and the most notable quote, "You couldn't look in the eyes of a dude that was trying to grill you, so imagine looking in the eyes of a dude trying to kill you," referencing his near-death experience and showing a level of rare introspection. He was clicking on all cylinders this night, and probably got the most decisive win on the card. Before there was Solomon vs. Nitty, Prep vs. Saga, or even JC vs. Chilla, there was Sue Surf vs. Big T at the back end of 2011. Everything about this battle was classic. The battle itself, the background story of it getting moved into a sports store, the fact that it was released on Super Bowl Sunday, and the fact that the trailer itself felt like we were going to see an actual clash of the Titans. I'm not joking. The trailer was so good that I rewatch it at least once a year. I'll put the trailer in a link below for those of you who haven't seen it. This was a battle that set the standard for what a small room battle is supposed to feel like and the bars that should be delivered. Both legendary and timeless. This is the quintessential classic battle that every battler wants on their resume. While I have alluded to Big T's wordplay earlier in the video, I don't think I highlighted how Big T was one of the battlers who revolutionized the concept of letter fours. Yes, letter fours as in metaphors but with letters.
This nigga wanna be just like me, but I'm gonna show you how I do it. Let's say I take a word like units and put you in it. Oh. That was just UNIT. Damn.
It's a coined phrase in battle rap that used to be extremely prevalent in the early 2010s. The idea of either spelling or using letters in a certain way to create various meanings. Alongside this tremendous wordplay were insane flow patterns and cadences that are still incredible to this day and still can be replicated.
They say I'm scared of surf, I say surf cool. They say Sue Surf, I say surf cool. What it do, surf? Cause surf get you for what you worth because surf Sue. Me verse Sue, I will murk Sue, and rehearse Sue, and rehearse Sue, I will hurt Sue, but it hurts Sue. No, that I wouldn't be the first to. Slob in the crew, do everything, harmonica flute, blue, come off of the roof, Tupac up in juice, bring drama to Sue, Osama Saddam to Sue, shot up at you, hit your yarmulke too, your Hanukkah Sue, I bought my shit too, bought my shit too, Jalaka that boo, keep trying, you be in the D line, I don't look at Sue.
Big T would also deliver the best third round of his career, along with arguably his best haymaker of his career, or second best depending on how you feel about bunny ears.
Grab a snack, his collarbone smashed when they pressed against each other. Now he like Keenan Ivory Wayans, cause I'm gonna get you, sucker. Nah, that was whack. It's cause I put most of his family up in the cast like in living color.
It is one thing to be extremely bar heavy, but it's another to be bar heavy, showcase a great level of rapping, maintain a style that is unique, and also have great build-ups, patterns, projection, and delivery. People like Lux, Verb, Big T, and Young Ill at this particular time period excelled because they knew the importance of being able to rap really well while maintaining a high level of lyricism and clean material in the process. This indeed serves in Big T's best performance up to this time period. and this battle would stand the test of time as one of the best small room battles that ever exist. You don't know Big T if you never watched his performance in this particular battle. This battle, without a shadow of a doubt, is one of his career-defining moments. By 2012, Big T was undoubtedly a top-tier battler and a bona fide main event caliber performer. With 2 main events already under his belt, in his next battle, the Chicago Hero would return to his hometown and battle Charlie Clips as the headliner of the second installment of No. At this time, this battle was huge and a heavyweight matchup. These 2 individuals were at the top of their game. Charlie Clips was red hot with his classic win over Tay-Rock on Lion's Den and his performance over Averb on Summer Madness 1. And Big T was obviously coming off of the classic battle with Too Sir. In Big T's first home headliner, the stakes were extremely high as there were rumblings from fans that Charlie Clips was the best battler in the game. And while the battle wasn't as great as Big T's prior battle, it was still a really good main event. They were able to power through the weird RDO and a crowd that was slightly restless in spurts of the battle. Both battlers had a pretty solid performances, and it was very noteworthy that this battle was extremely debatable, and a lot of people went on record saying that Big T was one of the first people to beat Charlie Clips. In the moment you all been waiting for, in 2013, Big T would face K-Shine on Gnome 3, one of the biggest cards in URL at that particular point outside of Summer Madness 2. The card included DNA vs Chilla Jones, Disaster vs T-Rex, B-Magic vs Charlie Clips, Hitman Holla vs Conceited, and Too Sir vs Hollow the Don on Hollow's return to Battle Rap. This card was both action-packed and star-studded, and Big T would be facing a dangerous K-Shine that was coming off a career-high performance against DNA, arguably the best performance of that entire year. While I don't think it's appropriate to say that Big T was an underdog in this battle, I will state that K-Shine was a bit more favored to win because of how dominant he was in this last battle, and also the heavy Dot Mob presence that was in the building. However, it was safe to say that Big T was unfazed by the outside noise and knew exactly what to do. His first round was so phenomenal, and even though the other 2 rounds weren't on the same level as the first, they still had good quality and Big T was able to dominate the battle from beginning to end. And besides, it would have been extremely difficult to top that first round considering the amount of haymakers there were in that round. His performance, projection, cadence, flow, and energy were all top notch, and the momentum and setups into the punches were stellar. Big T accomplished a multitude of things in this one night. For one, he had one of the best rounds of the night. 2, he delivered K-Shine's clearest loss he would ever receive up to that point. And 3, he gave an amazing performance on a big stage, which was something he didn't have the luxury of saying prior to the battle. After his battle versus K-Shine, he would go on to battle O-Red and take a definitive loss. While Big T wasn't particularly bad, he still had a hard time getting the crowd on his side, and his material from the K-Shine battle dropped off tremendously going into the O-Red battle. And at this particular point, Big T's apex would end unknowingly. A lot of battlers and fans feel like Big T's relevance would diminish after his K-Shine battle. And while I understand the sentiment behind that statement, I still feel as if it's incredibly lazy to say this without describing Big T and the trajectory of his career. Big T could never really transition to the times where battlers were consistently battling on big stages, and he also wasn't really conditioned to battle more than once a year. So when you put those 2 elements together, it is very easy for Big T to not be able to keep up with the times. While he did have an impeccable performance against Shine on a big stage, he wasn't able to consistently perform at a high level on those stages. And when you look at his style, it isn't made for big stages. Big T was a momentum rapper, relied on unique setups and great rapping to carry him through his material. On big stages, this approach doesn't always translate very well. People like Averb and many other battlers from that cloth have to fine-tune their style to account for those differences. Meanwhile, Big T never really changed his style to adjust. And while I commend him for trying to maintain the unique style he possessed, I think that choice was a detriment to his ascension as a battler. Now, I would be doing a disservice if I didn't mention that Big T has had good performances between 2013 and now. His battle versus Jackboy Maine in 2018 was a good band battle. His battle versus Danger Zone in 2016 was a high quality performance on Black Ice Cartel. And I can also mention his battle versus Shotgun Suge in 2015 on Summer Madness 5 was good as well, which was ironically enough a big stage battle where he was able to get the crowd on his side early and deliver an exceptional first round and a very good second round.
Lasagna pop ya, pull off with the smoothest posture, rock ya, do the cha-cha, la cucaracha, Mr. Chalaka Bua, Mr. Bubaka, I'm a Rasta, Bombay Glad Shaka, Raka, you see the Glocka, ay caramba,
The key word when it comes to Big T is flashes. He gives us flashes of excellence, whether it's his third versus Danger Zone in 2016, his second versus Jack Boy in 2018, or his first versus Nitty in 2020. These are all flashes within recent years. Heck, even his first versus Lou Castro this year is pretty solid. He shows you that he has a little bit left in the tank to hang with the best of them, but he hasn't quite pieced it all together to have a consistent year or consistent sequence of battles that is noteworthy. So when people say Big T fell off and hasn't been good since 2013, I find myself conflicted because I don't necessarily disagree with that statement, but I'm not quite pleased with the connotation it creates and the perception it builds. For one, there are a great deal of battlers who weren't able to maintain longevity over the years. And two, there are a fair share of battlers that haven't accomplished what Big T has accomplished in his apex.